You have my attention.
That's the way?
Huh?
What's it like to change form? I've been wondering about that since I met you.
I can imagine. It's exhilarating and strange at the same time. If it taught me one thing, then it's how foolish it is to put the mind above every other aspect of the body. Many people do that. Especially scholars or mages.
What do you mean?
Because the shape of our flesh is so much more than just a shell. It defines us. When I take on the form of a wolf, for example, this wolf isn't just me with fangs and paws. It's a different version of myself.
A different version?
Yes. You can't understand if you haven't been there. But I guess you could say that when I'm taking on a creature's form, a part of my mind gets infused with that creature's essence. The thirst for the hunt, thinking as part of a pack, just to name the most obvious aspects. They meld with my mind. When I was young and first started shifting, the creature always dominated. It was like a feverish dream, and I had almost no control over my actions. With time, it got better.
Did you ever completely lose control when you were in another form?
In the beginning, yes. But the Elder always made sure I was in a controlled environment when I did my first transformations.
How do you learn a new form?
That's complicated. First you have to understand that creature, observe it, live with it if possible. That can take months, years, sometimes decades. Then there's what we shamans call the first joining. You have to visualize your shift.
How does that work?
I can't explain it. It's like your first bloodshed. It can't be explained, only experienced.
So, in theory, could you transform into anything? Even say, a wyvern, a dragon?
In theory, yes. In practice, there's no known shapeshifter who has ever done that. Save for old orcish legends, maybe.
Why not?
First off, there aren't many dragons around to study. And even if there were, you aren't likely to survive it. Secondly, transforming into something that enormous, it can be lethal. Our minds, our essence just isn't fit to govern such a massive body. Only some years ago, there was talk of an Ash Reaver shifter who had attempted to morph into a troll. He succeeded, but his heart, the troll's heart, stopped before he could take a single step. So you see why most shifters aren't that eager to experiment.
Well, that's definitely interesting. Thanks for taking the time to explain.
Sure.
Back in Bargagor, you told me that you think the orcs should strive to be more. What do you mean by that? Do you consider your culture to be, well, inferior?
Inferior? No, not at all. On the contrary, I'm glad to be a fire wielder, and not a human or an elf.
Why?
Because not so unlike the Shapers, your culture is bigoted, strange. You like to tell yourselves you're more than the animals you slaughter for food. You call yourselves civilized. But in the end, you look for the struggle just as anything and anyone else does. but of course you don't admit to it. You want to be better than that, and the result are lies, intrigue, wars, and assassinations. Their culture is so bizarre that it's almost amusing.
That might go for some, but not all of us.
Maybe, maybe not. So no, I don't consider our culture to be inferior. But we've gone astray. Fools such as Krell was one. They're the reason your race looks down on us. If Zakrak had wanted us to be ever-fighting, ravaging brutes, he wouldn't have given us minds to begin with. Every brawl, every battle, every war has to have a purpose. It isn't something done for pleasure. Yes, it can be enjoyed. But at its core, it is ritual. The most basic one of nature.
In other words, violence and war are good and necessary, but only within measure?
Yes, and it should be learned from. That's where most orcs disagree. They claim to value wisdom, but when asked to choose between words and a club, they always choose the club. And as you see, this is why our culture has stagnated. In its current state, there will never be an orc empire, a great tribe, or the earth-shaking horde Zarek envisioned.
So what you want is to lead your people to a better future.
You make it sound so dramatic. For now, the Fire Wielders are a good start. And by helping you, they will hopefully see that diplomacy and strength don't always contradict each other. After that, we shall see.
Did you always have these ambitions?
No.
Then where do they come from?
None of your business, Tahar. Sorry.
All right. Don't you think a world without violence is possible?
No.
Why? Isn't that what we should all aspire to?
We should aspire to a lot of things. But tell me, Tahar, this world has existed for millennia. And has there ever been peace? Lasting peace?
At times, yes.
At times, exactly as I said. Our very existence is based on conflict. Finding food, not freezing to death. Living means to struggle. Your people, with your warm clothes and banquets, try all in your power to forget that fact. But you can't, because ultimately, there's as much thirst for struggle in you as in an orc. What we orcs believe is that we should embrace it, that we should just face the truth, even if it's ugly. That the ways of nature can't be changed by its creation. It's like fighting the tides.
So, what? Do we just kill each other whenever we feel like it?
No. What we need is a way to channel our urges. Ceremonial battles, arenas. A society that is centered around survival and strength, and gains, rather than loses stability from it. Because if we simply suppress these urges, such as humans, the elves, and the dwarves do, they will at one point only erupt even more violently.
I get your point, but I'm sure there must be another way.
There isn't. Anyway, where were we?
Well, thanks for explaining.
Sure.
How did you become a shapeshifter?
I was chosen.
And how does that work?
Complicated. Are you sure you want to hear the whole story? Time isn't exactly on our side.
It isn't. But the more I know about your abilities, the better. You're fighting for me, after all.
We're not fighting for you, Tahar. We are fighting alongside each other. That's a big difference.
Alongside, then.
Good. Let's make it short then. Shapeshifting is a gift of Zarek. One that only the best of his shamans are granted.
And how does one become a shaman?
He has to be chosen by a tribe's chieftain. You see, magical talent is a lot rarer among orcs than it is among humans or elves. In my tribe, there was only me and Rain. We both discovered our talent by chance. I, when I was 9, and put out a fire that had broken out in my family's hut. Everybody was asleep. Even the... Huh?
Yeah, do you need something? I'm a tad busy.
I'd still like to know more about how you ended up in Northander.
Bugger and blast. And here I was hoping you'd forgotten. Alright, I'll tell you. But only under one condition.
Yes?
That I get to ask you a personal question too.
Then we have a deal. Go ahead. I'm listening.
Fair enough. I was born in the Windwall Mountains.
You don't say.
Sorry, still sorting out my thoughts. It's been a long time since I last told this story to anyone. Alright, one more time. As you can imagine, I was born in Windwall, a child of the rocks.
Come again?
A true dwarf, as some would say. Born in the buried city, not on the outside as the traders and farmers are. My family was quite privileged. Not nobility, but my mother and father led a big smeltery which supplied one of the finest smithies. Moon silver weaponry. Ever heard of it?
I think so. The commanders of the Royal Army use them.
Figures. Well, my childhood was a rather unremarkable one. I had 2 brothers and a sister, and even though I was the oldest child, I was always the most quiet one. I learned quickly how to wield an axe, and I still know how to do it, but I never took pleasure in it. The same goes for my parents' craft. For some reason, Nihalf had given me a talent for metallurgy, but not the desire to use it. Instead, my biggest love was always made with ink. Books.
And I assume your parents didn't approve of that.
Oh no, they didn't mind. I had 3 siblings who could do the job as well as I, so the future of our family was secured. On the contrary, they were quite accepting, which wasn't usual amongst dwarves, especially not those in Windwall.
Are the surface dwarves different?
Depends. There are some who were very open-minded. For example, the traders who get around a lot. On the other hand, there are some who were as ignorant as the Windwallers.
Dwarves are traditionalists, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they are. They love their brawls, they love their ale, and they love their metal crafting. And they never miss a chance to tell the outside world just how much they do.
Well, to be honest, when I think of dwarven culture, that's exactly what comes to my mind.
See? And that's the problem. There's always diversity in every race. There are soft-hearted orcs, there are elves who don't give a damn about the white tree, and there are humans with... well, you get the point. What I'm trying to say is, many dwarves love living these traditions, but there are some like me who just don't fit in. This is one of the reasons why I appreciate you and this group so much, Tahar. Aenir's tools or not, we're all pariahs, in one way or another.
So, what happened? Why did you leave Windwall?
I'm getting there, Tahar. When I came of age, I found work in the Windwall Library. That time was also when I deepened my knowledge of the Shapers. I devoured all the books there were, and bought whatever writings the merchants brought in. They smiled at me, talked of me as the strange bird, but I didn't care. The more I read, the more spellbound I became, and the more I dreamed of journeying through Io to solve all those mysteries not yet uncovered.
Are there Shaper ruins in the Windwall Mountains?
Hardly. And those that are there are buried beneath miles and miles of rock. Impossible to access without a huge expedition.
Huh. And what kept you from doing just that?
Well, 2 things. First of all, my attachment to my family. Secondly, Gilak.
Gilak?
My, partner.
You had a partner?
Yeah, we met... I'd rather not go into detail too much. Fact is, we lived together for 6 years. He was very dear to me. Let's put it that way.
What are dwarven families like?
Similar to their human counterparts, I believe. Having family and offspring is considered to be very important, especially if you're of noble blood.
But living with someone of the same sex is acceptable?
Well, yes and no. If you do, you don't talk about it, and you should make sure to find yourself a wife or a husband to found a proper family, eventually, and bring new children of stone into the world, even if that family is just a charade. If you don't do that, you're frowned upon. There's even a word for a childless dwarf, man or woman. Galrag, which roughly translates as dusty boulder. Very amusing, I know.
They do have a point, though. For an empire to endure, there needs to be children.
I agree. But I doubt a few people with different desires living a different kind of life pose a threat. There'll always be men who like women and women who like men, and a couple of people whose tastes are different don't change the fact. And once again, the Shapers were different in that regard. As long as you stay within the boundaries of your caste, you can do as you pleased.
I understand. But something happened, didn't it?
Yeah. The Blackstone Rebellion. Ever heard of it?
Yes. A coup, wasn't it?
Yeah. An attempt to overthrow the royal house. It was bound to fail from the beginning. The rebels were anti-traditionalist and wanted to establish a new order, where it's the people who have the power, not the nobility. Gilak was one of these rebels.
Oh.
Yeah. At first, before the coup, they tried to raise awareness by giving underground speeches. A noble endeavor, but not at all thought through. Most dwarves just don't care about politics as long as they can have their mugs of ale. First, he didn't ask me to participate, but the more sour things went, the more he started pushing me. At one point, we had a fight. When he asked me to steal money from my family to support the movement, it was terrible. Finally, push came to shove, and he told me of the coup. He knew that despite my occupation, I was a remarkable fighter and Earthshaper, which is why he asked me to fight alongside him. You can make a difference, that's what he said. By Nihalf, he was just so naive. He really thought it would be like in the old legends, a group of courageous dwarfs fighting their way to Algrim Castle with me at his side. I just don't... Forgive me. It's strange to talk about it like this.
It's okay. Thank you for trusting me.
Yeah, sure. You can imagine how torn I was. I knew he'd die if the coup took place, but I also knew that I couldn't stop him. When I told him he was mad, he called me a coward, a delusional bookworm, who'd rather spend his whole life dreaming about the past and changing the present. And then he left. The next day, I found him beheaded by a royal guard. They didn't even make it to the castle stairs.
Why didn't you tell the guard about the movement's plans? They could have stopped him.
Yeah, they could have. Only to execute him and all his friends the next morrow. Tahar, believe me, I thought about this quite a lot. About what I could or should have done. And do you want to know the saddest part of it?
What?
I came to the conclusion that I did nothing wrong. He had his mind set, and nothing I could have said would have changed what had been about to happen. In the end, there's only so much you can do.
I'm sorry, Iskram.
It's all right.
What happened then?
I ran. Not only because I'd rather have died than return to that empty house of ours, but also because they would have arrested me too. Our relationship wasn't a secret, and in their eyes, I was as eccentric as Gilak and his friends. And we all know how dangerous eccentrics are, don't we? I left my family a letter, telling them not to come after me, bought a horse, and rode as far as it would take me before collapsing. That was 9 years ago. I haven't returned ever since.
What about your family? Did you ever hear from them again?
Not directly. Every now and then, I return to a big city to find a dwarf who can tell me about Windwall. But the thought of returning, I don't know. I know it's cruel toward them, but I just don't think I could ever bear setting foot in those cursed stone halls again.
I see. And since then you've been studying the Shapers?
Yeah. If there really is, as people say, a silver lining to everything, then this would be it. I'm finally doing what I was too afraid to do back in Windwall. I'm living my dream. Though the price I paid for it was high. And you know what, Tahar?
What?
There's a third reason to my fascination with the Shapers I haven't told you about yet. It's Gilak. It's stupid as it may sound, there's a part of me who wants to prove him wrong. To show him that the past has value, that it can guide us towards a better world.
I see. Well, thank you for sharing this, Iskram. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It felt good to talk about it. I didn't expect that. But you're not off the hook yet. The question, remember?
Right. Shoot.
Your past is even more unusual than mine. Growing up with a man like Isamu Tahar as your father? Without a mother? And then the whole thing with the Mage Rebellion? I know you've been through a lot. Now, I was wondering, if you could trade that past you've had for a different one, would you do it?
What kind of past could I choose? Anything?
Anything.
I wouldn't.
That surprises me, to be honest. But I think I understand. Either way, pleasure speaking with you. Hope this wasn't too grim for you, but then again, you asked for it. Give me some time now, will you?
Sure. Take care, Iskram. What do we need?
Huh?
How did you become a shapeshifter?
I was chosen.
And
Complicated. Are you sure you want to hear the whole story? Time isn't it?
it isn't. But the
We're not fighting for you, Tahar.
along.
Good. Let's make it short then. Shapeshifting is a gift.
And how does one become a shaman?
He has to be chosen by a tribe's chieftain. You see, magical talent is a lot rarer among orcs than it is among humans or elves. In my tribe, there was only me and Rain. Everybody was asleep. Even the damn fool that had been tasked to stand guard. When I woke up, the entire room was in flames.
So it was your magic that woke you?
No, I needed to take a piss.
Makes sense. What happened then?
I panicked and started screaming, as every child would have. However, the only thing that did was make me inhale the fumes even quicker. My vision blurred and I lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I was on a bed of hay in the village shaman's tent, and everybody was staring at me, as if I was Zarek incarnate. I asked what happened and they told me. Just when I had lost consciousness, it had started to rain. Not just a little. It was a full-fledged storm, a deluge from the skies. With not even a minute, all the tents in the village had been flooded. The fire wasn't extinguished right away, but was quickly put out by the other orcs that had been awoken by the storm.
That's impressive.
Well, it was also my last successful weather ritual. If it hadn't been, Barkagor would be all meadows and forests by now. According to my brothers, I had an orange shimmer in my eyes and was muttering strange words when they took me to the shaman. She told me that was a clear sign that I was gifted and that I had fire in my blood, as my tribe likes to say. Of course, it changed my life entirely. All of a sudden, I was my Cal's pride. It was strange, not just for me, but also for my kin.
Who trained you? The healer?
Yes, but only about her craft. Primitive ghost callings, alchemy, medicine. I learned my magic from an elder who lived in a tiny shack a 15-mile march from our village. I woke up every day before dawn, walked for 2 hours, served him, and received my lessons, then returned to my Cal shortly before midnight. It was hard, yes, but it was insightful. Those long walks in the darkness, the solitude at the foot of the mountain where his shack was, they shaped me.
How did your family take it?
Well, they were proud, but they also weren't sure how to treat me anymore. For example, my father stopped taking me out on the hunt because he was afraid that something might happen, which is ridiculous. Shaman or not, An orc who can't wield a spear isn't an orc at all. Also, my siblings became withdrawn. Jealousy, of course, but also estrangement. All of a sudden, their baby brother had become this strange being, which had apparently been bitten by Zarek himself.
It's always like that. Being different isolates you.
I guess.
Interesting. And who was this Rain you mentioned earlier?
Did I? Well, that's complicated. I don't want to talk about it.
All right. Now
Yes? What is it?
I've noticed that you use both white and black magic in combat. I've never seen anyone do that before. Don't the two schools exclude each other?
Normally, yes. The essence of white and of black magic deeply oppose each other. Trying to combine both of them usually has a similar effect on a mage's mind as adding water onto a patch of burning oil. I, however, never had that problem. The first time I found out was at the Arcane University in Greyfell, where I studied. The white magic spell I had cast on a rabbit to heal his wounded paw accidentally killed it. I was very young at that time, and I knew my professor would be upset if he found out, so I channeled my energy on undoing what I had done. As a result, I created an undead rabbit. It immediately went feral, and I put it back to sleep. But rather than feeling the terrible headache that had been described to us as an effect of combining these two schools, I felt a slight sense of, well, exhilaration. I secretly continued these experiments during my studies, and found out that whatever it is that causes this mental discord among normal mages did not affect me.
Do you have an explanation for this?
No, I do not. Maybe it has to do with the way my mind is structured, or maybe it is a simple coincidence.
Well, that's odd. Where did you grow up? You don't look Nortandian.
I do not, that is correct. I grew up in Imperia.
Imperia? That's a long way from here.
I know, but I hardly have any memories. My parents fled from the Civil War and set over to Northander when I was only 4 years old.
So you were refugees?
Yes, much like many Nortandians are now. We lived in the Utran lands, and my parents are still there.
And when did you discover your magic?
At a very early age. I believe I was 7 at that time. I must have had an outbreak, but I can hardly remember any of it. All I know is that my mother's employer, who was a mage himself, immediately took me in. I went to Everlight when I was 10, and did not leave there ever since. Until now.
What's it like to live in Nortander as an Empyrean?
Well, it was my impression that Utran people are by nature a lot more skeptical towards outsiders than, for example, the citizens of Everlight. All in all, however, I cannot complain. Both my father and my mother found work quite quickly, and thanks to my occupation as first scholar of the Creators Guild, they now live a quite comfortable life.
Interesting. You're the first Empyrean I've met.
I'm not surprised.
Back when we met, you told me about an internal disagreement, which led to many of the Guild's mages leaving. What exactly happened?
Why do you want to know?
No particular reason. I'm simply curious.
I see. Well, simply put, the Guild had 2 leaders until half a year ago, me and Lena. Lena and a lot of the other mages felt that they could uphold their neutrality no longer without sacrificing their integrity.
You're talking about the persecution of mages.
Yes, I am. As Lena said, they are crucifying us, burning us alive, putting masks on our heads that destroy our minds. If there's something wrong with the world, it's people who keep their heads down because they are afraid to stand in for what's right.
Quite the speech.
She was very emotional when it came to the topic, yes. However, her stance conflicted with everything the Creators Guild stands for. We preserve knowledge, push forward the boundaries of magic. We do not involve ourselves in power games and politics. Figuratively speaking, a fisher will never be a good military commander, just like a mage will never be a good politician.
Could you tell me more about Lena? What was her position in the Guild?
She was the Guild's treasure master. Other than that, I do not know what to tell you. She was quite young when she joined the Guild, not even 24 winters old, and immensely talented. When it came to mentalism, her skills were unmatched. She was different than the others. She was better than the others. And I always saw a spark of genius in her eyes. And yes, I do know that most people would call that attraction. But it was just a fraction of what made our bond unique.
So where did Lena and the other mages go?
I do not know. They left to fight the purity and save mages, but I have not seen them ever since.
Well, I understand the conflict.
Well, you are an empathetic woman, so I would have been surprised if you did not. But these events lie in the past. There is no point in discussing them any further, though I had certainly hoped for a different outcome.
You seem bitter.
As I said, I had hoped for a different outcome.
Huh?
Understood.
A fine plan.
Tahar, what is it?
There's one thing I've been wondering about. After we parted at the hideout, what exactly happened? How did you and my father part ways?
Good question. I guess it all started with the relics, the tomes. You remember them, right?
Yes, he was hoping they'd help him to win the war.
Exactly. And there was this one moment when he found the 5th tome, when I came to a realization. You see, there were all those bodies, enemies, but also many of our people. We had shed so much blood, Tahar. But Asamo, he didn't care. If there was any grief in his eyes, I couldn't see it. And as dramatic as it may sound, that's when I finally understood that we had lost our cause. This wasn't about ideals, about us mages anymore. It was about him. Whatever his intentions had become.
And that's the reason Zane, Helena, and I betrayed him. Come on. Do you really want to tell us you didn't see that before? The tomes were all about power.
I knew it was about power. But Asamo always told us that he would use that power for the greater good. And it's not that far off. I mean, can't you imagine? With the power of the tomes, we could have united the world. Even made it a better one. No more persecution of the deviant. No more wars. No more suffering.
You mean an aristocracy, with a couple of mages playing God.
There's always someone playing God. And honestly, don't you think the world would have been a better place if there were gods who actually cared? Who involved themselves in politics? I do. Tahar, what is it?
I'll be off.
Huh?
I want to buy some better equipment for the Wayfarers.
Music to my ears. What did you have in mind?
Ah, yes.
Yes, Corporal? How can I help?
Well, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. How did you become an assassin?
Why do you want to know?
Because I want to know my allies.
Huh. I see. In short, my mother sold me. And after an incident, my owner noticed my talents. He started to train me to carry out jobs for him. And when I was 17, he had an accident. I've been an independent assassin ever since.
Your mother sold you? But where? Why?
Because she needed the coin, and already had 4 children to feed. And as for your first question, where there is demand, there is a market. Particularly in a big city like Greyfell. It's not as uncommon as you might believe.
How do you feel about this? Your mother selling you off?
Well, I used to feel strongly about it. Now I've simply accepted it as part of my past. But there are plenty of reasons for that.
You're saying there's a slave market in Greyfell?
Slaves, sex, murdering for pleasure. Just imagine every dark desire you can think of. And you know what the Greyfell Bazaar has to offer. I find it interesting that this surprises you. Didn't you serve in the Royal Army for 8 years?
I only joined shortly before the Mage Wars started. And the Greyfell affairs were the responsibility of the Greyfell Guard. I just didn't know.
Well, now you do. I do not agree with the purity of light in most aspects. But they are right when they say there are many sinners in this world. If you believe in the concept of sin, that is.
Even if she needed the money, that's despicable.
Well, to her credit, she didn't take it lightly. At least as far as I can remember. I was only 7 when that happened.
That doesn't make it better. That's quite the story.
Is it?
So, who was this man who bought you?
I won't talk about that. This chapter of my past is done, and I want it to stay buried.
That sounds like you're hiding something.
I am. But it should be of no relevance to you. So, tell me, Pariah, how did you become the betrayer's child in the first place? It's rare for a child to defy their own father.
He lost his vision. When he started the rebellion, it was about the safety of mages. But he became more and more radical. I just couldn't stand by and watch anymore.
That's admirable. Well, thank you for sharing this with me. Either way, is there anything else you need?
There's something I've been wondering. How can you kill for a living?
What do you mean? How can I align it with my morals?
Yes.
I don't know if this is the right moment for this conversation. Maybe another time.
Good move.
Will do.
What can I do for you today?
Let me see what you have.
I had hoped as much. What do you need?
I'm sure I have just what you need. Good choice. Certainly.
Okay, I'm ready. Sure this place isn't gonna blow up once we insert the second stone, Iskram?
What? No, I don't think that's likely.
All right, here we go.
Blasted, blistering blazes. I don't know what to say. This is amazing.
But it seems like it worked. We've restored the Nexus to full power.
What comes next, Iskrim? Is it strong enough to perform the joining ritual now?
It should be. And you, Tahar, should be the one to do it. You need to connect your mind to the Nexus. That way you might be able to sense who or whatever is sending out the song. What do you say? Are you ready?
Shouldn't we, I don't know, prepare?
How? Putting on a Shaper costume? Now's as good a time as any.
Fair point. All right, Iskram. I'm ready.
Good. Then step into the forge.
And what now?
Tahar!
We...
Is it over?
Yes, I think so. By the Guardians. That was... I don't know what just happened.
Can you describe?
There were voices, screams, thoughts, images.
How do you feel now? I mean, has anything changed?
I think so. Yes. I feel, I don't know, clearer? As if something in my mind opened up.
Then it worked! Niehauf's hammer, we did it! You joined yourself with the Nexus!
So... I am telepathic now?
You're not a Dreamweaver. I'd feel it if that were the case.
I don't think you are, but you're connected to this place now. And therefore to the Shaper memories.
Does that mean we can finally locate the cause of the song?
You tell me. Think of the song, Tahar. Close your eyes. What do you feel? What do you hear? What do you see?
I'll try.
A failure. That's what you are.
No, that's impossible.
What is it?
My father. I heard his voice.
Your father? So you think he's behind this?
I also heard the voice of a woman. She whispered something.
A woman? Now this is, interesting. But I still don't understand. Do you really think your father is involved in the blood burn?
I don't think so. There's more to it. But yes, my father is involved in this somehow.
This is helpful, but it still does not tell us where to start searching. Think hard, Tahar. Is there anything else?
Yes, there were sounds. Drips, crickets, flies, but...
The eye. Your father's laboratory.
Tiara's breath. Of course.
The eye? You mean the marshlands?
Yes, my father had a laboratory there, in the old abandoned manor of House Waite. Nobody was allowed to follow him there, not even Rowan or I.
Well, sounds like we have a lead. The Bloodborne and the Song of the White are somehow connected to your father in his laboratory.
So it seems. Yes.
Tahar, maybe...
What?
Never mind. It doesn't matter.
Rowan, tell me.
There's nothing to tell.
Well, if you say so. I'll send a messenger to inform Lacane as soon as possible. He'll want to be there. Let's get prepared. Understood.
Iskrim's plan worked. By joining your mind to the collective subconscious of the Shapers, you were able to locate the origin of the Song of the White. The marshlands, also known as the Eye, where your father had a secret laboratory. It seems that Rondar the King was right. One way or another, your family is connected to the Bloodburn. Time to unravel the mystery.
Tahar, there you are.
Bertrand?
That's my name. The Harbinger sent me to welcome you.
What about Iskander? I thought you'd still be there.
I was, until recently. But that's a long story. We can talk about it later if you want. First, we need to discuss the reason you're here. There's good news and there's bad news. Let me make this short. Sentenza, General Noria, caught wind of our endeavor. He knows we are headed for the Eye.
That's bad. What's the good news?
He wasn't sure of it, so he only came with a small division of soldiers. Still, the fortress is heavily guarded, so we will need more troops to storm it.
Damn it. We left our forces in Mullendir.
I know. There was no way you could have known this would turn into a full-fledged battle. But there's no time to turn back now, and we have to come up with a plan. The Harbinger himself will join you at the fortress, together with some Lightbringers.
Lightbringers? So the Purity has actual soldiers now?
They always had soldiers. The Bane.
What? No, the Bane doesn't belong to the Purity. They believe they do, but the Harbinger has clearly renounced any affiliation with them.
Impressive. You call yourself the Harbinger's right hand, but you obviously have no idea what he's up to.
If that's what you want to believe, go ahead. Regarding your question, Tahar, a lot has happened since your escape from Greykeep. More and more people have started to see the light, and it is not just townsfolk and farmers anymore, but also soldiers. They all wish to fight for Aeonir's return, and we guide them.
Sounds like a religious militia. To be honest, I don't like this. Nortander doesn't need more armed factions.
Oh, what is that army of yours if not a militia? This country is torn, Tahar. It's only natural for people to take up arms and defend their own rights. You of all people should know that.
And how will he do that? If Sentenza has scouts all over the marshlands, he will see the Purity's army coming from miles away.
That's where you come in. There's a godstone on the mountain of the old castle where your father's laboratory was, and where Sentenza has made his stand. If you kindle it for us, the Harbinger can use his rune to teleport himself and his armies right there.
That could work.
It will. Aeonir is guiding us, Tahar. Don't ever forget that. I'll wait here to make sure Sentenza's reinforcements don't take us by surprise if they get here before all this is done with.
Bertrand, there's something I'd like to know. What do you make of all this? Do you really think my father is responsible for the Bloodburn?
Well, he must be connected to it somehow. Aeonir himself told the Harbinger this, didn't he? As to why and how, I guess we'll find out.
Can you tell me anything about the marsh?
Well, I take it you're not interested in the folk tales about House Waite's descent into madness, so... No, not really. The only thing you should watch out for are undead. There's quite a lot of them around.
Of course. The Bloodburn.
What do you mean?
The Bloodburn. I don't know how to explain it, but corpses can be affected, too. It awakes them.
Oh, that's eerie. Well, but I guess it explains a lot. The swamp has taken hundreds of lives over the years, and if that castle is where the Bloodburn originates from, then, well, you understand.
I still don't understand how Sentenza got wind of this.
I don't know. He is the spy master after all, so I guess it's just one of his many ears who told him.
Once we've secured the Godstone, what then?
The Harbinger will know, but I assume we will storm the place. Once we're on the island, it should be an easy fight.
Shouldn't we try to reason with Sentenza first?
No, I don't think that's wise. Sentenza hates you, and he hates the Purity too. He has been trying to hunt you down since you escaped the keep. We cannot take that risk.
All right. I'll see what I can do.
You will. Aenir's blessings, Tahar. And stay safe. I'll be here if you need me.
Bertrand?
Yes?
I was wondering about the situation in Iskander. How are the Loyalists holding up? The refugees?
Don't ask. Only days after you left, a whole new division of Nortander forces arrived. The war goes on, and as for the refugees, House Utran still won't let anyone through who they can't recruit for their army. They've even started to build a wall. It's crazy. We are doing our best to provide the camp with medicine and food, but we're at our limits. How about the caravan? Are they safe? I mean, did they make it to Everlight?
They did, yes.
Oh, good. That's good. Way too many innocents have died already.
I still don't get it, Bertrand. You're concerned for the refugees, but you're fine with the Purity murdering mages.
It's not that simple. Sometimes sacrifices have to be made for the greater good, and every mage gets a fair trial. Only those who abuse their powers get the punishment. Again, it's not about the magic itself. Possessing the power isn't the crime. Using it is.
Got it.
Sure.
Blasted armor. I'll keep you shielded.
Sure.
Understood.
As you want.
This way, right?
If
Yes,
you
of course.
insist. Zarek guides me.
I don't think we should go there. The storm has completely soaked the ground. It would be too dangerous.
That's the way?
Fine.
Hard to believe there was a time when people actually lived here.
They still do in the east. And while the environment may be hostile, I do not think the villagers have many troubles with raiders.
Fine.
The bridge is broken. Must have been the storm.
All right, why not?
More
You
fighting.
read my mind.
Does this never end?
Will do. This is it. Strange that Sentenza hasn't reacted by now. He must have heard the fighting.
Maybe the storm drowned the noise. It's possible.
But not likely.
you want.
Will do. Let's see.
Sure.
That's the godstone Bertrand was talking about. Let's light it.
Harbinger.
Carpal. Good work, Tahar. The All-Father clearly smiles on us.
The All-Father has nothing to do with this.
Of course. So, this is where you believe the bloodburn comes from. Interesting. When Aenir told me the pariah's blood was involved, I didn't take it so literally. Time to end it.
First of all, we need to get through the gate. Why hasn't General Noria reacted yet? Even if he didn't notice the fighting, he must have seen this teleport.
Because he wants to be the one who ends it.
How do you know?
Because I know men of his kind. He's proud and consumed by his hatred. And he wants to be the one to take you down and me right along with you.
But the Purity is under the Lord Marshal's protection. He can't just kill you.
Well, both Lord Marshal Arendir and the General know by now that I helped you. And even though the evidence wasn't enough to officially sentence me, it will be the moment I show up with you at my side. I knew it would come to this, Tahar. The only reason the Lord Marshal was willing to cooperate with the Purity for so long was because we had the people behind us. We were always a thorn in their sides. And this, me helping a deserter of the crown, is just what they need to take me down.
Then you're taking quite a risk being here.
I'm not. I've told you before. All that is happening according to Aenir's plan. Just have a little faith, Tahar.
Huh. And what now? How do we get past the gate?
Let me take care of it. General Naria. General Naria! Are you ready?
Aren't we walking into a trap?
A battle, but not a trap. Just trust me.
Walking corpses. Take them down. Damn it! I need healing.
Yeah.
Yes?
Got it.
Danger up ahead!
Yes, of course.
Fine.
Fine.
That's the way.
Look at that. More Nortander folks. No, I still haven't seen that woman.
What are you talking about?
Oh, so you're not with the Royal Army. Thank the Guardians. I was getting sick of their questioning. They're looking for someone, a traitor, apparently. Which leads me to the question, who are you if you're not with them?
I'm here to explore that castle.
Explore? Well, good luck with that.
And who are you?
Me? Just a lost soul on the search for meaning. Just as my men.
What's the story behind that castle? The Eye.
You don't know?
Well, I've heard the rumors. House Waite, their descent into madness.
And that's about it. Some 100 years ago, Parzival Waite, the head of the family who once lived in that lovely ruin on the island, contracted some disease and went completely and utterly bonkers.
How?
Well, he started seeing things, had those dreams of a white city, and said that something is coming to devour the world and that he has to stop it. At first, his wench, they didn't have heirs yet, and rumor had it she was barren, tried to help him, but eventually she lost her mind too. They started putting up crosses everywhere to keep that something from coming, starved themselves, and eventually started sacrificing their servants to the renegade gods to ask them for help. The story got out, and the villagers, at that time there were more, stormed the castle and hanged both him and his wife. End of story.
Interesting.
That's one way to put it.
So there's really no one living in the marsh anymore?
Hardly. There's a small village to the east, Batham or something like that. But I wouldn't advise you to go there. At least not as long as this storm's going on. All that bloody rain has turned the roads into damn death traps.
How so?
You're joking, right? You're in a damn swamp here, friend. One false step and you'll end up as a mummified corpse on the bottom of these ponds.
And I guess all those weapons help with that search.
Well, what did you think they're for? Jokes aside, we're mercenaries. But with all that shit that's been going on, we're not so keen to get ourselves involved in another war anymore, no matter the pay. So we just went for a long hike into the blue, and this lovely place is where we ended up. It may look hostile, but the wilderness has plenty of fish to catch and plants to eat, so it's actually not that bad.
If you're sellswords, can we hire you?
What for?
We want to storm the fortress.
Do you? That's ambitious. I better not ask for the reason, right?
No.
All right. We'll help you if the pay is right.
How is this?
Let me see. Yes, that's fair. Well then, let's get started, shall we? Break is over, boys. Get moving.
We stand ready.
No, there's no getting through here.
As you want. A fine plan.
Blasted armor.
As you want.
This way, right? Huh?
blasted armor.
Yes, of course.
Walking right into the lion's den. This is by far the most foolish thing I've ever done.
Just trust the Harbinger. He knows what he is doing.
Scum.
Understood.
Zarek guides me.
There he is.
Let's see.
So this is how it ends.
It doesn't have to.
Doesn't it? What do you suggest, Corporal Tahar? That I let a traitor run free? Together with his lunatic cultist friend who is scheming against the crown? No. We both know that's not an option.
We know where the Bloodburn comes from, Sentenza. It's this castle. If you kill me, we may never stop it.
Why? What can you do that we, the Royal Army, can't? But thank you for the information. I had been wondering what the fabled Rondar Lacane and the prodigal Corporal wanted in this marsh. Now I know.
You couldn't stop the Bloodburn even if you killed us. It's not how Aenir wills it.
Well, we'll see about that.
These people in Leonon were innocent. How often do you want me to tell you?
You didn't know! All you had was the word of some elven traitor, yet you risked the life of an entire city for it. Believe me, of all the atrocities I've seen in war, almost all of them are caused by people believing they are doing the right thing. Because that's all it was. You didn't want to save those villagers because you thought they were innocent. You did it because you wanted to be the savior. Vanity. That's what it was all about. And I get it. Part of this is on me. I thought I succeeded in making you a warrior, a servant of the crown, but I failed, and I didn't even see it. You're just like your father.
By the light, General! We both want the same thing. To end the Bloodburn? Shouldn't we be helping each other instead?
You're as bad as them, Corporal. Enslaving yourself to this madman rather than facing death like a soldier. You're just a coward.
That's not...
Don't, Bertrand. It's pointless.
There needs to be another way.
No, there isn't. Men, you know what to do. You really think it'll be that easy?
Healing!
Bloody traitor!
Healing!
No. This is wrong.
He's gone. I'm sorry it had to come to this, Tahar.
It was his choice.
It was. Now let us end this. Whatever causes the Bloodburn is right below our feet. And maybe even some more answers to the questions you've been asking yourself all along the way.
Tell me, given that we find and cure the Bloodburn down there, what then?
Then we are one step closer to the return.
What kind of answers?
Well, maybe there was more to your father than you thought.
I'm ready.
Good. You lead the way. Bertrand, you secure the fortress. I doubt there will be Northander reinforcements soon, but we need to be sure.
Of course. Good luck to you, my friend. My prayers are with you.
That's your command.
Got it.
Interesting.
As you descend the dank stairway of Castle Waite, a memory flickers across your mind. Your father, standing over your cradle, eyeing you with a mixture of affection, indecision, and disgust. Almost like an archaeologist looking at a strange discovery. The memory disappears as soon as you and your companions reach the bottom of the stairs. Your father's sanctuary, as if touched by skeletal hands. A cold manifests on your shoulders, slithering, creeping, crawling slowly towards your chest.
So this is it. Intriguing.
This place is definitely where the strange magical signature of the marshland comes from.
But what causes it?
We will find out soon enough.
Huh? Alright, why not? That's the way?
Ugh, undead.
As you want.
Tiara's breath. What is that?
It looks human.
I highly doubt that. Whatever they are made of, it's not real flesh, and they don't have any aura, not even a leftover. They have either been dead for a very long time or never were alive to begin with.
What are you implying?
That they've been created somehow. Didn't you tell us about this nightmare you've had since you were a child, Tahar? The one in which you saw these bizarre constructs.
Of course. These are the things from my dream.
That's interesting, to say the least.
Sure.
Will do. Blazes. Do you see that?
It walks by the light. It talked.
Do you understand me? What happened here? What are you? Huh. It seems to understand us. At least a little. Do you know anything about the Bloodburn? What are you? Did Isamu create you? I think we're wasting our time here. Let's push on.
We should kill it.
What?
This entire place. It's a blasphemy. Only the All-Father should have the power to shape life like that. And we should free this thing from its suffering.
What? In case you haven't noticed, this thing, it's a miracle. A semi-sentient being created by human hands. If anything, we should study it once all this is over.
We will not kill this thing. It's harmless.
All right. Then do as you wish.
let us make this quick.
Careful.
Sure.
More of them. How many did he create?
Blasphemy. No human should have the power to shape life like this.
Good.
That's the way.
What do you want?
This place is a bloody graveyard.
Certainly.
Huh?
Bye. That's impossible.
Do you know this thing?
It looks like someone I knew. Back when I was still fighting for my father.
So she was a rebel.
She defied my father. Same as I. That's why he killed her.
Whatever she was before, she is a revenant now. In other words, she's dangerous.
Of course. A ghost seeking closure.
Huh. She doesn't seem to be aware of us.
It. And no, it isn't. Revenants are guided by raw emotion and magical auras, rather than sight, touch, or hearing.
I've seen my share of the undead, but this is new. What exactly is that? A revenant?
A wraith, or a Yalkadara, as the orcs call it. When a person dies with an unfulfilled desire, a scourge, that person may return to the world as a revenant, with the purpose of finding closure. It's a fascinating magical phenomenon.
If a revenant is a ghost seeking closure, she's here for Isamo. For revenge.
Probably. I think we...
Isamo?
By the light.
You took me, Tahar. You took me. You took Zane. You took your own child. But it's over now. I found you.
I believe it thinks you are a Samo. This isn't good.
Helena, No! No! Damn it, Helena! Remember, I am not a Samo!
This is pointless. She doesn't listen.
Helena! Please! It's over. She's dead.
She has been for a long time, Tahar. I don't know what she meant to you, but this creature wasn't your friend.
I don't understand why she thought I was him.
It doesn't mean anything. A Revenant's mind, if you can call it that, doesn't work like ours. It only reacts to raw emotions and auras. She must have seen the semblance between yours and your father's.
Will she come back? As another Revenant?
Revenants only return once. If not, this world would be haunted by thousands of them. She's with the light now.
Let's just move on. Got it.